man.
Yeah, Russell has the beeping power. This is great. And look, I don't have enough people watching my channel to worry about what language is said.
I always worry when it's somebody else's content, to be honest. When it's my own, I'll just swear like up a storm. That's why I'm no longer... that's why I pulled back on my Twitch stuff, because I was like, I want to be able to swear. Like,
yeah, it's true.
I don't want to be demonetized by Twitch for saying the F word.
Yeah, that's a bit mean. Mean of Twitch, that is. As we're live on Twitch now. All right. I've literally just sort of opened the Google Doc, so...
Good luck with that, really.
You've written a lot of stuff. I'm guessing you're just going to talk about that, so that'll be my assumption.
That's what you asked me to do.
Good.
Absolutely.
Good, because I'm not going to read that stuff.
I already did it.
It's more fun. It's more fun if you read out the essay, and it's like a reaction video. Yeah, cool. Look, it's all the stuff that I pretty much wanted to sort of...
Although, I have an extra point to make as well.
Awesome. Yeah, go for it, man.
And that's going to be in regards to, like, artists almost have no way to claw back their art if it gets stolen by somebody.
Well, do you want to
say
that in the actual thing? Yeah.
I'll be touching on it because...
Cool. What am I choosing at the bottom? Buy, hold, sell.
I don't know. What are you choosing?
What's the topic? NBA?
I don't know if you want to do a different sport, you can, but I meant if you want to choose your own player. I chose Poku.
Okay.
If you want to do NFTs, I can...
Well, let's not and say we did.
Al's keen to do Poku, and then if you want to do Poku again, that's fine, or we can do a different player.
Well, I mean, you said Poku in it, so I was like, oh, well, clearly I need to, like, have a look at Poku, and I was like, he's basically, like, the dream when it comes to, like, somebody who was collecting him when he went to G League and then came back out of G League, unlike Carson Edwards.
No, we can do Carson Edwards. No.
It's not. That's not. That's not.
Yeah, I might be cool to stay out just because my brain's just in slow mode at the moment.
Okay, you can just be like the color commentator. How about
I'm going to be all color this week.
All right,
even though my face has got none.
You are looking a bit pinkish.
Thanks. It's a camera trick. I'm white as a ghost right now.
Oh, you mean as white as I usually am? Like,
all right, this is going to be
just like
fun.
this little bit of pepper down here.
Yeah, don't get me started on that. I found my bald spot today.
Oh, wow.
It's big too.
I've always had thin hair, so I don't need to worry about a bald spot. But I've always wanted to go grey, and instead I'll go grey in the one area I never really wanted to go grey, which is like
one of those things that just doesn't balance well. You can
go
laugh,
grey
Russell.
everywhere.
It will happen to you.
And like I've actually literally got like streaks of white and grey in my blonde hair, so...
Yeah, I'm just more upset with the fact that there's patches of skin where there should be hair now.
Although I probably should actually, get a haircut at some point, but I don't think I'm going to.
See, if I had your thing, I could just sort of get bits of it and put it over the top.
It's like
get a toupee made out of the
do a
genuine
flock
article.
of seagulls.
God. I did mention we're live on Twitch. I hope there's not a bunch of people watching.
Should we kick off, lads?
Let's do this. Let's get this Sunday night underway.
Yeah. Welcome everybody to episode 23 of the You Can't Comp This NBA podcast. This week we've got a very special guest to join us. It's Al from Chesh Plays Games. Al, how are you tonight?
Hey everyone, how you doing? Thanks for having me. Super exciting.
Welcome aboard, mate. And Adam, how are you tonight, mate?
I'm a little under the weather, to say the least. I don't have COVID, although it feels like I do.
Yeah, I'm glad we're doing this one by long distance, mate.
Yeah.
Although I'm gonna say, Russ, I'm gonna poke some fun at you here, and you can't delete this from the podcast.
Well, now it's been said.
Thanks to every single solo episode you've ever done where you haven't invited me along as a special guest. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was abducted by elves, and multiple things have happened.
Oh, look, it's also about time management, can I be honest with you? Sometimes we're just like, I need to get this done. And so, but yeah, Look, man, we're happy
he's a wreck while I'm not there, so he's crying about me not being present, and he goes, "I have to do an episode." So,
and then I finally pick myself off the ground, and then
he's definitely gotten a lot better on the mic, and I think that your ad spielers are definitely a hell of a lot better than when you started. So you're clearly making progress, and I'm really excited for you.
Thank you, man. And I'll say this: you've definitely given us a lot of really good feedback, and we're listening to you, Al.
I definitely think
a lot of feedback.
So, all right. If I was a punter, I would guess that Al is one of the first people to download the episodes every week.
Yeah,
because we get feedback very quickly. Definitely. Like I didn't even know the episodes are up half the time, and we get feedback. So
yeah, no, we're
really
grateful, Al.
That's awesome.
Thank you for your support and your feedback. It has been very helpful. So
that's all right.
Slapped Cards. Thank you very much for sponsoring us. They are our very proud sponsor, and Slapped Cards specialize in card grading with PSA and SGC. They're an authorized PSA dealer. Card grading starts from $54.95 and includes full insurance, secure storage, 2 tons of bank grade safes, 24-hour surveillance, and they are located in a guarded, monitored building. All cards are scanned in on arrival and are available to you at all times. Automatic progress notifications will be received, and you get complete submission tracking and notifications from start to finish. Shipping services, which is something that Khalil has just recently added. He offers a domestic shipping service with up to $10,000 of insurance per parcel, domestic secure hand-to-hand shipping service, delivery made within 24 hours of pickup, and international shipping with up to $150,000 of insurance per parcel. So contact Khalil for a quote. You can contact him via slabbed.com.au, slabd.com.au, and also contact him at 60 Weymouth Street in Adelaide. So this week's episode is episode 23, and Al is here to talk to us about NFTs. And what we wanted to do was start with the very basics. What are NFTs? What are some of the pros of NFTs? What are some of the cons? What are some common scams that you might encounter when you're dealing with NFTs? And also, too, we're just going to discuss, generally about, VeeFriends, of course, and then about why are NFTs even collectible. So we're going to sort of try our best to give people a bit of an understanding and sort of, some basics around that. So, Al, give us the basics, mate.
No
Educate
worries.
the people.
All right, look, before we get started, let's address some downright stupidity that I've been seeing in the last probably 3 years, especially on Facebook. With a bunch of people stating that NFTs are just a JPEG, which is absolutely ignorant.
Well, all right. I'm just gonna ask it straight out, because I don't know if Russell just explained it in our intro. We are clueless about these things, and they keep coming up in the news. Gary V's been going nuts about the things, and he's been selling some stuff for a lot of money, and we're just like, what the hell is this product? How does it work? How does it function in society? And like even South Park took the piss out of it. So, what is this?
Yeah.
All right. Look, everyone has access to Google, right? The difference between people wanting to educate themselves to make themselves better using the thing that is the internet, the intertubes, that was literally designed to bring people together and educate. People would rather not actually use it to educate
bag out movies and slander one another, isn't that?
Yeah, pretty much troll each other and bag out movies.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong,
it's fun.
I absolutely will bag out movies.
Correct.
But if I don't know what something is, or if I want to know the basics of something, I'm going to try and find out for myself, so that if I want to make some sort of stupid loudmouth comment, which I do a lot, that I'm at least basically educated to argue a point with somebody, rather than saying to somebody like, it's just a JPEG, that's stupid. I can turn around and say, sure, it's a JPEG tied to a thing called the blockchain, which is basically a register. But why would I want to invest in that when I can get a physical card that I can hold, that I can touch, that I can show off to my friends? That's a very important point, and we'll actually get there.
Yeah, I was going to say, why don't we hold that thought for a sec and then just literally just take us through the basics? Because I think, to be fair to people, common sense isn't common. It's taught. No, honestly,
yeah,
I
that's
think
a fair point.
If you're working, in a workplace scenario, it's unreasonable to think that people can just sort of like teach themselves. I think you do need some resources available to them. And I think, to be fair, that's why we brought you onto the show, because, and also too, it's easier for somebody to have a good understanding and summarize and put that knowledge together for us too. So I suppose that's what we're hoping you'll be able to do for us tonight.
Yeah. Look, I'll be the first to Google something when I'm curious, but the amount of rabbit holes this thing opens, the world of NFTs.
And where do you start, and what's a good resource to use? So maybe that's something that we can do too. We can put some links up and we can put some resources together.
Look, to be honest, anything that the only thing that people really need to do is just type into Google, what is an NFT?
And Gary V's got it sorted for you. He's already got the highest link. And
well, you're actually not wrong there, because Gary V actually has a couple of videos where he explains what an NFT is. Again, something we'll touch on later, because of very pertinent tied in things with VeeFriends. Which is funny because that also ties in sort of to NFTs in regards to the VeeFriends cards. But we'll get there in a second. All right, so basically an NFT is what they call a non-fungible token, okay? It's a non-interchangeable unit of data that's stored on a blockchain, which is a form of digital ledger. That item can then be sold and traded. Types of NFT data units may be associated with digital files such as photos, videos, audios, GIFs, etc., right? Now, for the normal person, that probably sounds incredibly convoluted. So, without all of this text, let's break it down. An NFT is a JPEG, a GIF, an audio. It's some form of digital asset that is tied to a ledger. That ledger will show you who...
So an example might be, say, Top Shot. That might be something that our listeners are familiar with.
Exactly. Which I was about to bring up in just a second. So the digital ledger itself, the way to think about it is this. When you create that item, when you mint it, when you originally buy it from the source, it then creates on the blockchain something that you cannot amend in any way, which is part of a digital ledger, right?
So when you say amend, you can't edit it, you can't copy it.
Yep.
Because the big thing I'm struggling with is copying things digital.
You can copy the JPEG or the GIF or whatever it might be, but you don't own that data set, and that is the collectible side of that thing, right?
Okay.
So you might have LeBron James from Top Shot worth $400, let's say, right?
Yep.
Then person X goes, but I can own that by just right-click save.
Correct.
Like, no, you can right-click save that image, but you actually don't own that asset. Now, using the word asset brings up a couple of different problems. The first one is the tax-related problem. A lot of governments at the moment are trying to figure out how NFTs are supposed to affect tax, especially with the Australian government, who's now kind of telling us that if you own an NFT, then it technically is an investment asset. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not going to give anyone financial advice. But if you own NFTs, I do suggest that you find a tax accountant who actually knows about NFTs and how NFTs work within the Australian Taxation Office, or even American. Find somebody who knows when you're dealing with these, because you could find yourself way on the wrong end of the law. And that's something to really just kind of bear in mind. Now, when we come back to what an NFT actually is, it has a chain of who buys and sells that. Now, it won't say Jason Tatum has bought and sold this. It will give you a wallet address. That wallet address will be tied to a person. That person might be anonymous, so you might not actually know who that person is. In the vein of somebody like Gary V, who has made his wallet address fairly open, and I'll talk about wallet addresses further in a second when we get into like the crypto side of things. But you'll be able to see if Gary V has bought and sold it, because you can generally have a look at somebody's wallet address on the blockchain and see what they actually own. If you're more confused now, that's fine.
Okay,
the one thing to remember is that LeBron James, let's say that LeBron James PSA 8 that you bought, right? You don't know if that card's actually real, right? Now, you can search up that PSA number to see if that was the graded card.
Barcode,
and hopefully that matches. But if it doesn't come up in that PSA system, you're looking at it going, well, I just got ripped off.
Mm-hmm.
With an NFT asset on the blockchain, that will never happen. Right? So if you buy that thing, you can research it before you even buy it to make sure that it is actually the thing you're buying.
Okay.
And you can see who bought and sold it. So you can actually track it back to see where it was minted and who it was minted by. Was it minted directly from Top Shot? Or is it a fake NFT that has been created somewhere else?
Okay. All right. So we're using the image side of things at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And look, to try and put it into context, say someone captures the moment LeBron passes Kareem. Something that hasn't happened yet, right? But we expect will happen. They capture that moment and they have an image. And they mint that as an NFT. So I hope I'm using the right terminology from what I've understood. And they've got that picture, that moment, but everyone can just copy it. What's the point of owning it?
So the thing to remember is that you can have, let's say, a Jason Tatum rookie. Mm-hmm. I can photocopy that. So what's the point? You see what I'm getting at here? Like, it's the point of, like, you might own a photocopy of this card, but you don't actually own the card, the collectible thing.
But there's a difference between me having a Kobe Bryant rookie physically, tangibly in my hands, and then me owning a digital copy of a Kobe rookie, and someone screenshotted that, because the original is a digital picture versus a tangible physical asset. Okay,
so let's compound on that a bit more and say you have a physical Kobe rookie. Mm-hmm. I create a counterfeit Kobe rookie.
Mm-hmm. That's just a fake.
But I also now have a Kobe rookie. So what are you talking about? You see what I mean? Like, there are bits further to that. It's not just the image itself. It's what the image is on. It's how that image was procured. It's how it was created. All makes this actual particular item.
Yep.
That's the thing to remember.
Russell's got questioned. I can see Russell's mind ticking.
No, I'm just thinking about it and how you can take a picture of a basketball card, or you can take a picture of the Mona Lisa, for example, but it doesn't mean that you own the Mona Lisa. And
it's funny because I've actually been writing an article about NFTs and about the Mona Lisa problem, right? Because, like, you're never going to own the Mona Lisa. I'm never going to own the Mona Lisa. But a lot of people are like, but I could just take a photo of your NFT and then I also own this photo. And it's like, you do, but you don't own the Mona Lisa. You can take a photo of the Mona Lisa, but you don't actually own that.
You can take a photo of the Mona Lisa and mint that as an NFT.
Actually, somebody did that.
As minted, minted photo of Mona Lisa.
Yep. Somebody actually did that. I don't know what happened with it. I didn't follow it up, but I remember it happening and just thought, that's kind of stupid, but yeah. But that's the other thing, right? Like, you, as much as people want to say, well, I could just, like, right click and save it. It's like, yeah, you could.
Yeah.
But you don't have that same property, right? Because the property isn't just the image. It's what the image is actually tied to.
Yeah.
So...
And I suppose that copy too isn't tradable in the future, also, or resellable, or...
Correct. But that's all right. So this is where my question about value is, though. Because if someone right-click saves it versus owns it, I don't know. I just want to use that picture as my desktop background, so...
Go for it.
Yeah.
No one cares. No one cares. It's just like I want to search Google and I want to find the latest MTG desktop background.
Yep.
I'll just download it from the Wizards website.
Fair.
Like, it's free for me to download, right? It's on the internet. No one can stop you from downloading an image.
Yes.
Generally speaking. Without security protocols being behind it to block you from right-click save.
At the end of the day, the internet is a pretty,
the internet
difficult place to police.
It's kind of being misused from what it was intended to be. And I'm not here to tell you that NFTs are the next big thing for the internet, because the current way that NFTs are working, again, something we'll talk about a little bit later, in my honest opinion, 90% of those NFTs that are being made now are just doomed to fail. They're doomed to be worth nothing. Just as much as Panini NFTs, for the large part, are worth nothing at the moment. And will be worth nothing in the future. Which people don't understand, because they're like, oh, I'll get on this Panini NFT thing now. It's like, how long do Panini have the license for? You know, what, another year? If that? And then what's going to happen to those NFTs? Are they going to keep those NFTs on their server indefinitely? We don't know that they are. Plus, when you open an NFT booster pack and you get 3 NFTs of players, it's just like opening a pack of cards. It's random. It's basically gambling. A lot of countries have looked at booster packs and stuff like that to try and find out if it's technically gambling, which it's kind of not because of how the market actually works.
Yeah, sure.
Which is why they shot down loot boxes in, I think it was the UK. But a lot of other places are looking at that going, well, loot boxes are bad, but shouldn't we be doing the same with booster packs of trading cards? Shouldn't we be doing that with Magic the Gathering, NFL, ice hockey like NHL, NBA, NBL?
Yeah, when do you start that and stop it?
Where is the line, exactly. I guess, is the question,
So NFTs run a really fine line as well, which is why governments are trying to figure it out, because generally speaking, looking at NBA Top Shot, if you're buying a pack of, you know, moments as it is, that has 3 moments in it, those moments are random. And you might get 3 extremely shitty NFTs. Now, I say this from experience because I've bought packs in NBA Top Shot and I've been unlucky. Yeah. I've seen other people being able to get their hands on them, cracking like Lucas and like rare LeBrons and like, oh, look at this NFT. It's worth like $1,000 because somebody wants to pay $1,000 for my JPEG that's on the blockchain. To break it down to an easy thing. People will usually say, why do I want to pay $1,000 for an image? You know what? You're right. Why did you pay $1,000 for that Michael Jordan PSA 10? Because you thought it was collectible? Because you liked it? Because you wanted it? Because to you, you wanted to get that thing so you could put it in your collection of that player that you could show off. One of the main things that people usually say is, if you buy an NFT, you can't show it off, which is fundamentally also incorrect and ignorant. It is a digital asset, which means you can get a digital photo frame and you can actually upload that asset into your digital photo frame. You can still show off that NFT to people because it's tied in to the actual blockchain and it's on the internet.
Yeah.
The same with digital art galleries are now starting to pop up with NFTs. And I tell you what, if I ever get an NFT project myself off the ground, I would absolutely be looking towards setting up some sort of digital art gallery.
Yeah, cool.
Because I think that is a really cool, exciting thing to do, right? Because
to facilitate, I guess,
Yeah, instead of putting paintings on the wall that could potentially be damaged by people coming and looking, you've got like $1,000 of each, monitor up on the walls that could be damaged, but it's a monitor, it's replaceable.
Yeah,
you don't have a physical art asset that has to sit there.
So you go to a physical location and then look at NFTs on the wall. I somehow thought you meant like a digital gallery where you would go in and look at NFTs.
No, we actually already have those. People don't really know about them because they're not spoken about and they're not kind of out there in the world. They're in it, like a lot of underground artists are using them at the moment. But there are actual digital online art galleries where you can go and have a look at people's digital art. Not necessarily just NFTs, but
we need to get a link for this. We should put this onto Facebook or something like that. Ads, I think, because that's actually quite interesting. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. I guess that goes to the why. The why would we be? Why is there interest in these things? How do they function? And that's like art galleries and things that makes sense.
Yeah, you've explained that pretty well.
Why are trading cards? Why do people want trading cards? Other than nostalgia, and it's not all about nostalgia. Why are trading cards worth money? Nostalgia doesn't mean they're worth money. The market means that they're worth money. So
supply and demand, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
People wanting to buy into them, it's the market demand.
Is that a problem if nobody understands what an NFT is? Doesn't that mean there's no demand? There's not enough demand?
We're looking at most of the general public doesn't know what an NFT is at this point, right? And we're seeing NFTs like Bored Ape Yacht Club selling for like $500,000 to $1 million to like 2.5. I mean, there were some VeeFriends that were just sold at Sotheby's, I think it was, or one of those auction houses, for like, I think 1.3 million or 2.3 million US a piece. And it's shit art. Sorry, Gary V, your art is fucking trash.
I think it's intentional. I really think it's got to be.
I just think it's not just that it's intentional. It's a fact of him making a statement that, like, the art doesn't really matter. It should matter, but it doesn't matter because he's Gary V, right? And it's one of those things. And let's just have a look here. So let's move it down. All right. So what are the benefits of NFT? Here's where it differs from something like a card, right? So if you buy and invest in a trading card, a graded trading card, you're sitting on an asset that's doing nothing for you, right? NFTs used to be the same way. NFTs have changed, and this thing has happened called utility, right? Now, I'm not going to tell you that NFTs aren't a scam. If you think that they are a scam and part of a pyramid scheme, absolutely, go nuts. Absolutely educate yourself first on what these NFTs do, because not every NFT is going to go off and be like this great thing.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Again, what I was saying was like 90% of NFTs, I think, are going to be worth nothing, right? Because people aren't really investing in art. They're actually investing in the NFT, and they're looking at things like, utility. Now,
what time frame do you think they'll go down to nothing? Like,
I mean,
5 years, 10 years, 25 years?
I reckon within the next 5 years, to be honest.
Yeah.
For a lot of these, because, and I actually did a whole paragraph on this, which is, what is the benefit of having an NFT, and what does utility mean, right? So let's take an example from Gary V.
Yeah, sure.
So when you buy a VeeFriend, you're actually getting until 2024 free entry to VCon. Okay, that's the utility side of VeeFriends. So not only are you buying into this art piece, oh my god, Gary, it's not art. Not only are you buying into this art piece, which is just ridiculous, you're actually getting free entry. Technically not free, right? Because you're buying the VeeFriend.
No, you bought the free VeeFriend at a bargain price, remember? Exactly.
For the next 3 years, you're getting into Gary V's VCon for free. Right? You're getting free entry. So the question is, how does that stack up? Like, how much is a VeeFriend that you possibly minted yourself? Because if you're buying it on the secondary market, you must really love Gary V. Versus what's the cost to actually go to that convention? Now, I could say that you bought that VeeFriend. Let's say you bought it on the secondary market for $3,000, right?
Yeah.
And let's say that the amount to go to VCon is, I don't know, $200 entry. So really you're getting $600 for your $3,000 investment. That's not exactly true, because you're not just paying for the entry. What you're actually doing is you are going to that event, right? So you clearly love Gary V. You clearly want to hear him talk. You want to see the guests. You're getting this whole experience out of this NFT. Plus you have this NFT. So before that last year is up, let's say you clear out that NFT for half of its cost. The question is, did you feel like you made the most of that NFT before you sold it off, right?
Yeah.
On the other side of that, a lot of projects put up utility from things like what is called a DAO. And everyone's going to ask me what a DAO is, so 1 second.
It seems like, and this is why people don't Google it.
Well, that's
well, no, like that's yeah, like as I said, the amount of rabbit holes.
There we go. Okay, so a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. So think of this. With an NFT, part of the utility is that it has tied to it a decentralized autonomous organization, which means that it is potentially making you passive income from whatever the group, the community for that NFT decides to buy in on, right?
So if there's a big bad art community,
I mean, sure,
we're going to call it whatever.
Again, no one really gives a crap about the art.
Yeah, fair.
They should. They really should. And I'll explain that in a separate part in a second as well. Because what NFTs mean to people or those communities means something a little bit different to us artists. And there's a reason that we need to talk about that as well.
Okay.
But let's say that you decided that you want in on an NFT with a DAO. That DAO is based in a community. So you first off are buying into the NFT because it has a strong community. You've now gotten yourself 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 new friends, right?
Sure.
Who all love this particular NFT.
Yeah.
Again, looking at Bored Ape Yacht Club, you've just bought into this exclusive club that has some very well-known celebrities, right? Some very big celebrities such as Jimmy Kimmel. You've bought into an asset that is currently worth a lot of money, and if you were lucky enough to mint it at like $100 or whatever it was, you're now sitting on like $50,000 minimum, which is a bit crazy, right?
So, sorry to interrupt. So are you saying that you would buy the NFT and then with that you can go to a physical yacht club?
Actually, it's funny you should mention that. It's not tied to a physical yacht club.
It's a digital yacht club, is it?
It's not even a digital yacht club. I'll explain the utility in a second.
Yeah, sure.
Bored Ape Yacht Club is literally just a name that explains what the NFT is. The story behind the NFT is you're buying a bored ape that is part of a yacht club. As dicky as that sounds. Now, I do believe now they actually do have a yacht club.
Of course, why not?
Because they're all rich now.
So it's a bored ape? Sorry?
So think of a drawing of a bored ape.
You
got that in your head?
Yeah. I thought you were going to say bald ape, but...
No, bored. And that's what it is. It's literally an art descriptor. So if you actually look up Bored Ape Yacht Club and have a look at those apes, you'll see that it's basically a descriptor of what those NFTs are. The second part, the yacht club, is them going, you're now part of like this exclusive club that you couldn't get into before. Which is, I guess, a little bit ironic because they set this thing up saying that like they couldn't get into a literal yacht club. So they created a Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Sorry,
and made
Russell,
it accessible for people.
Your camera box to show some random pictures.
That's
and
okay, mate.
It's now no longer accessible in that way. But going back to utility, so you have your DAO, right? Your potential to make passive income. And this is where it starts sounding a little bit more like, is this scheme? A pyramid scheme?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Which we'll cover when we get to risks, because that is something that we do need to talk about.
Yeah.
But also there's a lot of physical things that can happen with NFTs. Bored Ape Yacht Club did a special event for Bored Ape Yacht Club holders only that you had to have one of their NFTs to get into.
Sure.
Doodles were at South by Southwest. They had their own thing there where you could go in, and if you had a Doodles, you actually got a special thing that nobody else knew about. Like, I think it was like a special physical merchandise thing. It might have been like a pack of something. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
A lot of the NFTs are built on these kinds of things now because it's not enough to just say, here's my NFT, buy it. You have to have, all right, well, here's my NFT. This is what the future is. This is what the actual roadmap for this NFT is going to be.
Yeah.
Once we hit this 30% road mark, then we're going to be introducing the DAO. Once we hit 50%, everyone gets free merch. Once we hit 100%, then we're going to kick it up that every year we have this special meeting event where we're going to throw a party every year. Stuff like that.
We're all going to Ibiza.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've seen any of them do Ibiza. Most of them have just been talking about doing them in the US because you want to do it as cheap as possible and still make it funky and cool.
Yeah.
But a lot of NFTs now are having something tied into them. Unlike bringing it back to sports, things like Top Shot. Now, here's one of the things from Top Shot. If you go to a basketball game in the USA, generally speaking, with a lot of their games, there's going to be a QR code somewhere that you can scan and get a free NFT.
Huh?
Whoop-de-doo. I'm not in the USA. How does that help me? Usually your packs are on sale in USA time.
Yeah.
Here, we have to wake up at 2, 3, 4 in the morning to try and get our hands on one.
Sure. Yep.
And generally speaking, sit in line for 3 hours and get nothing. Right? So...
Yeah.
That's why I think that things like Top Shot or even Panini's own NFTs, Topps, Upper Deck, all of those ones that are now trying to expand into NFTs, there's a problem there which they need to look at how they're going to handle. Now, I think that Panini especially have absolutely missed the ball on this, the same with their redemptions. If anyone remembers back to the days of redemptions in even basketball, or actually a better one would be Batman Forever. Just seeing Adam's face drop as he goes, wait a second, what? So back with Batman Forever, when you had a redemption for a special lenticular card, you actually got this really cool looking redemption card, right? That had an image on it.
Cool, yeah.
Because it means that even if you missed that window, you still had something pretty you could look at.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
With a Panini redemption, you get a white piece of cardboard with a sticker on it. So here's my thing. Considering that an NFT can be tied to the blockchain, you can actually tie it to an NFC chip. Okay, does everyone know what an NFC is? Near field communication?
No idea.
So with your phone, you can share information from your phone to another phone.
Yep.
Right? By being near a phone. You can just literally put them almost on top of each other and swap that particular line of data or whatever from phone to phone.
Yeah.
So you can do that in an NFC chip or a little coin or a medallion or whatever and embed that into a trading card.
Yeah,
right?
I do have NFC on my phone actually, mate.
Yes, absolutely you do. Most modern phones do these days. So what Panini could have done was do up the actual card that it was supposed to be without auto, without whatever it was supposed to be, and embed in that card an NFC chip, right? For their, not just for their normal redemptions, because let's not even worry about that right now, because we all know the problems with actual redemptions.
Yeah, I think we should maybe leave that for another day.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, it's just one of those things. It's it can be so easy to do, and it means you get something, and it's a tradable asset.
Yeah.
All right, so let's have a look at what the risks are.
Yeah.
The first one is minting of a new project does not mean that that project is going to succeed. And this is a problem. So originally when Top Shot came out, everyone went gangbusters. Good thing, right? 6 months later, those NFTs were worth a quarter of what they were worth because everyone went, oh, actually, this is being handled pretty poorly. And a bunch of people, such as myself, pulled out their money and sold whatever NFTs they could, and whatever's sitting over there in their accounts that they can't sell is just sitting there. I've got a Killian Hayes NFT that's just going to be sitting there forever until he picks up points, and that's fine. Let's not even talk about Killian Hayes. The other problem is the fact that it's an anonymous, decentralized source.
Yeah, sure.
And
Regulate. Oh wait, never mind.
This means that there is little hope of properly regulating it, although governments are trying to find ways right now. We've seen this from the US to Russia sanctions, where they're trying to sanction NFTs so that Russia aren't basically getting around
NFTs.
Yeah, they're trying to get around using cryptocurrency, and the US is trying to block that. The other problem is that
there's a whole lot of trouble with that anyway.
There is. I mean, look, money washing.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't follow it, I mean, isn't this
Correct.
what Crims have been trying to do for years? And mostly failed at because, well, people can look that one up. That's interesting. All right, so. Okay, great. One of the risks are because it's decentralized and because it's mostly anonymous, unless the person has doxed themselves, there's no risk to them to pull out of a project once it's minted and run off with all that cash.
Yeah. So is that one of the things they can literally just turn off the server and then...
No, they leave the server on. They don't care. They just run away with cash. It's not their server. Yeah. That's the thing.
But I'm just trying to sort of put this. But if they stop paying their server fees, there could be some possibility the server would just.
I mean, it's not on their servers anyway. That's the thing to remember. It's not on their personal servers.
Yeah, sure.
It's on whatever blockchain they've minted it on. Think about this from a recent episode you guys had where you were talking about an NFT, right? Like 2 episodes ago, where a particular superstar pulled out.
Darren Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Same thing, right? So let's say there's 10,000 copies of these randomized NFTs with different rarities. 5,000 of them sell. The other 5,000 don't.
Yeah.
It's been 2 weeks. The owners then do what's called a rug pull, where they decide that they no longer want to be part of this project. They abandon their community, and they take the coffers with them. Right? After promising people that they had this utility, this roadmap, and this DAO. This is where it gets risky. So how can you avoid getting trapped like that?
Yeah.
You have to educate yourself.
Okay.
Right? There's just no way around it. You have to look at, is their community active? And even that won't stop you. Like, there was a project recently called Nifty Nanas. Yeah, I know. It sounds stupid, and it is.
Nifty Nanas.
No one cares about the art, so don't worry about it. But Nifty Nanas sold, I think, most of their assets and then jumped ship. Right? And it left the community to, pick up the pieces, and the community have now picked up those pieces and tried to make it somewhat of a usable NFT.
Yep.
Which is hard to do when you have none of the funds to do that with, because the owners took all those funds. So they, the community basically went together and started, doing merchandising and all that sort of stuff to raise money to put into the actual community itself so that the community ran the way that it was supposed to run, which is actually fairly rare that a community will pick it up. But that was one of those ones that you couldn't tell it was going to be a rug pull, because the community was active. There was a heap of people in Discord all the time. They had their website. They had a proper minting website and all that sort of stuff. And all those green checks were made. They were working with other NFT projects. They were actually involved in other NFT projects in the way of doing cross promotions and stuff. And it looked really good. And the owners still rug pulled.
And so the people who bought the blockchain pieces, can they restart the project again and sort of keep it going? Is that...
Generally speaking, sort of yes. So what happens with this particular one is that the platform, which was Magic Eden, found out that this was rug pulled, basically, right? So they went, okay, well, we can do one of 2 things. We can reimburse everyone out of our pockets, or we can change the control over who actually owns the main assets back to the community, right?
Okay.
So because the community have bought those assets, and because that owner is run away, basically, Magic Eden were basically okay, if you want to work with this project now and be the project leads for this, you can do that, and you have our blessing, right? Because it was all on their platform.
More interested in this, even though it's a failing project, than maybe any other that I've heard of, to be honest. If it's run by the community, I think in some ways that seems more trustworthy than...
Yeah,
putting it into one single person's hand where they've got all the power and control over it. That to me is actually really interesting.
Yeah. So another way that projects are starting to now protect against this kind of abuse is by setting up like actual decentralized accounts, like properly vaulted accounts. Those accounts require 3 sign-offs from 3 different people.
Yeah.
The only problem is if you have 3 people wanting to rug pull, there's 3 people are the signers, there's 3 people are still going to sign it out.
Yeah, that's it.
Right? Yeah. So people were
there's no way of stopping that, though.
It's an element of control, but you can get around it relatively.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, going back to the art side of things, and why are NFTs good for, I'm not going to say all artists because I don't speak for all artists, but I'm certainly an artist and I can definitely speak for myself and my own experiences.
Give us your opinion, man. That's totally fine. Yeah.
One of the things for me is that if my art can get out there, number one, I'm changing from being a physical artist to a digital artist, right?
Yeah.
So digital art to me is a completely different direction because I no longer have to physically paint a piece and then, try and put it up in a gallery or do a showing in a gallery and pay all that money for a gallery or chip in on a group submission like I've done in the past, right? Plus, I don't have to interact with people as much in a physical location while COVID is still around and still evolving, right? Plus, being legally blind helps me out because my anxiety is through the roof when I have to meet new people and explain to them why I'm looking at 2 inches away from my face with my phone, or 2 centimeters. You know what I mean? Like having to explain to somebody like, yeah, I'm an artist and I painted this thing that you're currently admiring, but I can't see it from where I'm standing. Like I have to whip out my phone to see it from here to the wall. And people to go, wait, but how do you paint if you're legally blind? So a lot of artists are finding that this for them is a bit more of a release because they're changing what they're doing, which is exciting enough, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of artists, when they change their medium, it's an exciting new thing for them to try. But even more exciting is the fact that they no longer have to go and quite literally, for a lot of artists, hawk their stuff on the street. Because trying to do physical showings is a chore. I could not tell you how many times up in Brisbane or even here in Melbourne when we first moved down here, I would go and try and find a gallery to show my works in, right? Because my works are a little bit different from most traditional painters.
Okay.
Because my art is basically tattoo-inspired rockabilly art, which means that it's quite flat. It doesn't have, shading. Sometimes can look quite rudimentary and not at all like, a trained professional painter because I am self-taught. Despite going to university for a while, I am mostly self-taught.
Yeah, sure.
But my art at the time back in Brisbane was allowing me to do underground shows with other underground artists, which was pretty amazing. Which I just lucked into, quite honestly, because of VFX artists that I knew. Because I never knew any of those underground artists before, like Anthony Jagalin and Teapot and, all of these big names. And then all of a sudden, I'm exhibiting with these guys, because they have found me through a VFX artist and gone, does he want to, show some of these cool pieces here? Because that's completely different to what we do. Because all of their art was completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But so going back to it, it's completely different now for an artist who can do their art and show off their art to a completely different audience.
Yeah, cool.
And generally that audience doesn't transfer over either.
Yeah. I probably get the feeling myself about that with NFTs and physical NBA cards. I really feel that it's a completely different group of people.
Yeah.
And I would probably also say too, the people that are opening NFTs have very limited knowledge on the NBA players themselves. I think they're more interested in the process of the NFT and how it comes out of the packet and then the ability to flip it. And because I was watching some on YouTube and the guy literally knew LeBron James and other people he described as liquid. That was kind of his knowledge base of NBA players. So I could imagine that would be exactly the same with the art that you're describing, Al.
Mm-hmm. And that is exactly it. That's what I was saying before about originally it was about the art for the most part, maybe, well, for most of the time.
Yeah.
But now it's more about like, who is this NFT by and what does this NFT provide?
Yeah.
Like, again, going
Is
back
it
to
liquid?
the VeeFriends thing, like, who the hell is buying into the VeeFriends trading cards and why? Who's buying into the VeeFriends trading cards at originally Dutch auction 2.5k USD per box?
Yeah. Which turned out to be an awesome buy.
Yeah, because people are selling them at like 12k, 20k.
Yeah.
But then you look at Jackass, done by the same company, Zero Cool, and Jackass clearance price for Dutch auction was $100, and it comes with signatures, like actual autos, and not
we
like.
should get some of this.
Oh yeah, you definitely should. Look, if you're gonna get some, like, let me know, because I think it's amazing to, like, it's more affordable than an NBA box, and it's got autos in it. $100 for a chance to get a Johnny Knoxville auto? Yes, please.
Sweet as. I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Is it like flawless presentation?
No. It's
it
more like
system or optic or something?
Topps WWE.
Okay.
From memory. So it looks alright.
Yeah.
It's not like whiz bang, but it. Well, basically, if you look at the cardstock of the VeeFriends, it's pretty much the same thing because it's from the same company.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sick. Let's put this on the to-do list, buddy.
Jackass.
But, like, so
cards.
one of the questions that you guys had was,
Done.
why is VeeFriends culturally significant?
Yeah. So why do you think that it is culturally significant?
I don't. I really don't. And there's a reason behind this, because Gary Vee is the hype master. He's the influencer, right?
Sure.
He generally finds things before most people. Yeah, kind of, Gary. Like, you've talked that up a lot. It's not entirely true, but you do you, boo, because you're bigger than anyone else.
Yeah.
Like,
but when you are big like that, you can say these things and people are going to believe it 9 times out of 10.
Bingo. And this was the thing with NFTs, because Gary was like, I brought NFTs to the masses. And it's like, you kind of didn't, but you are bigger than anyone else who brought NFT to the masses.
Mm-hmm.
So you brought it to a wider range of people, but you didn't really bring it to the masses. So it's kind
we all
of
think Butters did it.
True, but not really true. But anything that Gary Vee touches and says is great, people are going to go out of the way and scramble for, right? Even though Gary Vee...
You got FOMO.
Gary Vee will absolutely say, I'm not a financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. And if I buy into something, I'm not telling you that you should, because you really shouldn't. Because a lot of the time I'm buying into something that's new and fresh, and I don't know what's going to happen with it.
Yeah, okay. But so he's brought this thing into the spotlight. I've got questions still.
Go for it. What questions?
How do we buy NFTs?
How do you buy NFTs? Well, it depends on where you want to go to buy your NFTs.
Because I heard you said crypto before, and I'm like, in order to buy new product X, do we have to go and understand not quite as new, but pretty new product Y?
Yeah, pretty much.
And go to place X that's not really X anymore. It's more A and B put together with a pathway through C, D, and E.
The first thing you need to know is that most NFTs aren't bought with your physical cash dollars. Not even with your digital cash dollars. Because your US or AUD does not matter a lick, right? What does matter is that it's bought with crypto, be it ETH or Kronos or one of these other cryptocurrencies, right? So what happens?
Yep.
Well, you get your, let's base it on Australia. You get your Australian dollars, you put your Australian dollars into CoinSpot, right? Which is going to cost a fee. And here's where the real rod is. To send that money to the CoinSpot, right? Because they've got to get paid. Then you need to buy into the cryptocurrency that you need to buy the asset with, right? Making sure that you need to actually get more of that currency than it is requesting, because there's a thing called gas fees, which is also a major problem for most current cryptocurrencies. Not all, because there's new cryptocurrencies that have come out like Kronos that have a much, 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 much lower gas fee than you have to worry about. For the most part.
Yeah.
Most part. So you're buying into this other crypto thing so you can buy this NFT asset, right?
Yep.
So you go to their website for, whatever NFT you want to buy, and they're minting if you're lucky enough to get on a public mint. Otherwise, you have to get what's called a whitelist, which is basically a pre-minting waitlist.
Well, okay. So,
all right, which is just, and this is where it starts to get murky, because you've got to invite,
starts
10
to get murky.
Because you got to buy, you got to get 10 friends into their Discord and be active every day to get on their whitelist, and then you probably miss their public mint because their whitelist is going to buy out like all of the NFTs that are available, and you'll have to buy it on a secondary market, which we've seen isn't really that bad for the most part, but can be terrible in the long run if you come 6 months later. And here's where the problem is when it comes to market demand. The problem, and this is what I was saying about, like, in 5 years, I can see most of these NFTs being dead, right? Because if you're not getting new people in for your NFT, then you are doing it wrong. You're absolutely doing something completely wrong. You should be allowing your current people to buy X amount, and that's fine. But you should have a public mint side of it as well that allows new players to come into your territory and buy up some of those NFTs.
Well, it grows the hobby. It's like growing the market, yeah.
Correct. Now, a couple of places have sort of done this and also sort of not. One of those is Mad Meerkats. So Mad Meerkats recently put out a special new NFT, which was basically houses.
Yep.
That's the best way to say what it is. The problem with that is that so many people were on the whitelist that I believe none of it actually made to public mint, or a very low amount made it to public mint. And when it did, there were so many people in the public mint anyway that it didn't matter. There's just no way you were going to get one. Now, you could then buy one on a secondary market, right? So let's say the mint was $300 for one.
Yep.
And I know because I had a chance to get on the whitelist and decided not to because I didn't have the $300, and I do regret this because they went bonkers. But on the secondary market, you could then buy in at, I think it was about $500 to start with.
Okay, so it was relatively cheap investment.
It was close enough, basically.
Yeah.
These were NFT, like, pictures of houses. Is that what they were?
Yeah. Like, I would... cartoon houses. So each one of them is drawn differently. They have add-ons. Some of them have like a little cool front yard. One of them might have had like a cool little like, tree lift because they're up like they're tree houses. So they're all in a tree. And one of them might have looked like kind of gothic. And, one of them just like looked like Candyland. The one thing to...
I might be getting this in too early, but when you bought that NFT, what was the bonus that you got with it? What could you do with that NFT? Like, did it give you entrance into like a video game or something like that? Or
no. So here's the thing. Oh, this is going to sound so bad now. It was mainly for people who already owned a Mad Meerkat NFT, right? Because it had what is called staking, which means that you could stake the house.
There's another term.
There is another term. This ties to utility.
We need a glossary, I think, for this episode, Ad.
Sorry?
We need a glossary for this episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
So staking is where you can put your NFT on essentially on hold in a vault, and it generates something. And at this point, it was Mad Meerkat coins, right? So you would have this like mad dollar coins or whatever the hell they were called. It doesn't even matter.
Ozbucks.
Let's call it Ozbucks. Sure. Mad Bucks. So you would then stake your Mad Meerkat, and it would put a multiplier on, and then your other NFT from some other project, and that would also add a multiplier. And then they got the thing which they call the Savannah, which is a group of other NFTs from other projects that you could stake as well to keep increasing that multiplier. So they would all basically contribute to you making passive coins that you could then sell on the blockchain to other people.
Russell, we're going to need more than a glossary. We're going to need, people that could, decipher hieroglyphics and...
It's really not that hard to understand. Think of it this way: you could get this NFT, you could store this NFT, and this NFT would create coins. You could then sell those coins on a secondary market.
Is that similar to crypto? How it mines as the transactions are checked?
It's extremely similar.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things. But this is their own particular currency and not an actual cryptocurrency per se.
And then with those coins, can you buy more NFTs of the Mad Cats? Is that what you do with those dollars? Or?
I'm going to be honest, I didn't look into it that far.
Yeah.
When it came to like what those coins were used for. I was just like, at that point I was out. I was just like, if I'm not going to buy it, then I don't care enough.
And I sort of see the Ponzi scheme thing happens there too, because then you have to buy this other thing to get this thing, and you have to then go to this other project to get this multiplier, and so do you put the cat into the house and that gives you like a special multiplier or something?
Yeah, pretty much. You stake them together. Yeah. You're pretty much putting your mad meerkat in the house.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And again, that's why I was saying before, like, some people have, said that NFTs feel like a Ponzi scheme. And to a certain degree, that's kind of correct. It feels scarily similar to a Ponzi scheme, because a lot of the way that some of these things are run, it feels very much like rich get richer.
Yeah, it's just a pyramid scheme with a different name, isn't it? And that's where... Yeah, I've been to a few of those financial meetings, and I sort of walk out of it thinking this is just another pyramid scheme. But
it's funny. I actually many years ago went to it was a food reselling.
I went to that
scheme.
one too.
Yeah, and the images are literally a pyramid.
Yeah,
and I went, "Is this a pyramid scheme?" And they went, "No." And I said, "So why is your image of a pyramid?" And they were like, "That's not a pyramid. That's the food triangle." I'm like, you can call it a triangle because it doesn't have all of the sides, but that is clearly a pyramid. But this is what I was saying before about like NFTs and how definitely, absolutely, that some of these projects feel like and can even be basically a Ponzi scheme where the rich get richer.
So
and
I think
that's scary.
Yeah, definitely. And that sort of leads us into the next thing. So what's a common scam that you can get linked into when you're dealing with NFTs?
So if I make it through, I make it through getting a bunch of cryptocurrencies, decide finally that I'm going to buy myself an NFT, there's a chance that once I go to pull the trigger and buy the damn thing, it's a scam.
It's a pyramid scheme.
Yep.
I'm out.
Actually,
I'm out. I can't do it.
Seem really easy, doesn't it?
I really wanted one at one point. Now I don't want an NFT ever.
It's that thing of like buying from somebody who you trust, Adam.
Go down to the market, you speak to Jason. If Jason just got a nod, make sure you tip your baseball cap. Tell him you're after the top shelf stuff. When the market closes, he'll take you around the back and he'll show you the special selection. This is just crazy.
It is crazy. Absolutely.
And Gary Vee tells you everybody that's really easy to do. It's a load of crap. It's not easy to do. I'm confused as hell. I'm scared I'm going to get ripped off.
The one thing about Gary Vee's content is that he will tell you everything that you need to know except the risks. I don't think I've ever. He
denies the risk. He very much says, "Oh look, I'm not gonna tell you this is solid advice. I'm a crazy man with too much money."
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? If you have money, that doesn't matter whether you lose it or not. Like for him, it's probably it's all just
half of his hype stuff is I've got too much money. I don't care. I'm just gonna take a punt and do whatever.
So, what are the scams, El?
So, one of the most, I guess you could say, clever but really sadistic, horrible scams, and even I have fallen for this at one point, early in my NFT goings.
Yeah.
Is an incorrect link scam.
Sure.
Looks completely legitimate. Yeah. Looks absolutely like the link should be.
Mm-hmm. It's similar to like an email that you get that says put your bank details in here, and
it's really easy to tell if an email is a scam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With crypto, not so much.
Okay.
Right. So there was this one that was let's go back to Bored Ape Yacht Club. Bored Ape Yacht Club's website is like baysea.io, right? From memory, and I'd have to look that up, but I'm 90% sure I'm right. This particular link was for a new project that was apparently run by Baysea, and was a very, very highly viewed video on YouTube talking about this new NFT. They had, and this is going to blow your mind, they had actually, no, it really will. They'd actually gotten, I'm going to call it a real life model decoy. Has anyone heard about like what's happening now with like fake videos that look real?
I think I'm understanding the concept. Yeah,
there was one recently of like of Zelensky or whatever his name is from Ukraine.
So the Ukrainian president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a fake video of him recently saying stuff on a video, and it was found out that it was just like completely faked, right? That they had like managed to redigitize a video, put his face on somebody else's like body that was an extreme likeness, remodulated the voice to sound exactly like him, and it was very hard to tell the difference between a real video and a fake video.
So literally what they did with Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian.
Pretty much.
Okay, cool.
Right? And they did this with Gary Vee and Basie.
Wow, okay.
Right?
Using the powers of good for evil. Oh my god.
So you have this video on YouTube that's playing on repeat, right? That looks like it's live. Right? That is talking about this new Basie asset. And they're basically using Gary Vee's likeness. They're using his voice. They are completely like redigitizing.
In for a penny, in for a pound, right? You're going to commit this level of fraud. You don't really care if you get caught.
Yeah, exactly. And they didn't care because, again, if you're on the blockchain, it's decentralized for the most part. Yeah. It's very hard to trace back where those funds are going, to find out who the person is. It's to crazy. Actually dox that person, which means that they made off with, I think it was $1.5 million worth of people's money, right? Because the link looked correct, right? Because it was basehc.io or something like that. So it looked like a real website, and you went there and you put in your information and it went, nah, your password's wrong. And you tried it again, it was like, nah, your password's wrong. You try it again and it's like, nah, your password's wrong. Please put in your seed phrase to unlock your account. And that's where the problem is. So, going back to cryptocurrency, there's two things with a crypto wallet, right? The first one is the seed phrase that is the ultimate protection for your account. Okay, with that seed phrase, if somebody has that, they can do whatever the hell they want to your account. There's nothing you can do about it. They can change your passwords. They can steal all your money, all of your assets that are in there, everything. They can just clear you.
Is that what they did? They got access to people's accounts and then they sold whatever NFTs were in their profile? Or
correct.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah. So they basically cleared out everyone's cryptos and all of their NFTs. There's just nothing you can do about it, right? Because you've already entered your password, which goes in their database, and then you've entered your seed phrase that goes with the password. Right. So now they have ultimate control over your entire crypto wallet. There's nothing you can do. So that's a big problem. Going to the police won't help. Police will just look at you and go, there's nothing we can do. Like, you're an idiot for doing it. What are we supposed to do about it? Because they can't track the criminals, right? This comes back to NFTs or cryptocurrency possibly being used by nefarious people for nefarious ends and washing money. It is, I'm going to tell you right now, it is a known thing that it's happening, and there is no way to stop it, technically speaking. Technically speaking. Here's one of the ways that governments are now doing it. Places like CoinSpot have to have access to your personal bank details to transfer those monies into your bank account.
Yeah.
Right? Now, to set up your bank account, you need one of two things. You either need a really good forger to forge your identity for that bank account, or you need to put your personal details on it. The police are getting to the point now where they are having enough powers that they can try and figure out who is right from who is wrong, which sounds really horrible, and it is, because we've come to a point now where the absolute opposite meaning of NFT is being used by the law enforcement to get access to this kind of information. We know it's happening here in Australia at the moment. There's been a lot of talk over the last couple of years about police powers and what they should and shouldn't be doing with those powers. And this is one of the things that it's kind of like the kind of gray area. It's like you want them to have access to people's bank accounts, like the personal information for those bank accounts, or be able to subpoena or request it or whatever you want to call it, so that they can gain access to that account. But at the same time, if it was your account, you don't want the police having access to your account. Why do they need access to your account?
Right to privacy and where the line is drawn. It's that's
depends what information they're getting. Like for my income tax now, I don't even need to submit my information to the government. They already know. You know, my employment records has already been submitted, and all the funds are already there. So it's like I can kind of see how that type of data, which I would assume is relatively clean, they could get access to that, and they can see how much money is going in and out of a crypto account. And if you've got $15 million of money going in and out of a crypto account, like that would be pretty obviously that you're washing it. But if it's like me and ads who are just trying to get a couple of like happy cat houses and something like that, and we're putting $50 in and out, I doubt we would even come up on their radar. You know
what? I agree with you, except on one small point.
Yeah.
Which is, where do we draw the line? That's where the human rights people are talking about it, right? Because they're going like, yes, like if a red flag comes up, you should absolutely have access to that red flag, that information. Which I absolutely believe as well.
I would assume they already have access to that information, though. Like, do you know what I mean? They already have access to that information. So
the government has a lot of the police force, the government, and the defense force has a lot more information and access to our information than we actually kind of know.
Yeah.
And this actually came out a couple of years ago. Tinfoil hat people. No, you can look this up. It's
I like conspiracy theories, mate. So I'll allow this one. Like,
oh well, no, it's about the US. So. There's an information post. I think it was in Canberra or something. There's actually like not a black site, but an information site where they were holding information from different areas that would go through that site, including from Australia. They were gathering like all this information. Australian government absolutely knows about it. It's a public thing that people kind of know about, but nobody really cares about until it like came to light a couple of years ago, and people were like, well, I don't want anyone having access to that information. What actual information are they collecting there? To which the government was like, nothing pertinent, nothing you need to worry about. Like, this is just like for terrorism-related reasons. We have this basically a listening post, right? Which we already knew about, but people just started going a bit crazy over because they were like, well, I don't want my information being like, you know what, shut the fuck up. If you are looking up something to do with like making a bomb, it's going to flag. It's absolutely going to flag. And that we've known about that for years.
Yeah.
But now people are like a bit worried about like how that's going to happen with cryptocurrency. And it's like, well, on one hand, like I would absolutely love for the law enforcement to be able to get their hands on that information if it flags. Because if I'm bringing in 15 million, I should be taxed appropriately. And B, that should be a red flag for law enforcement. Like, okay, well, did you sell some assets? Where's this 15 million coming from? Did you just like buy 10 million of crypto and then all of a sudden you're getting 15 million back from someone? Like, that's clear, obvious washing. And then, all right, well, we need to know, where did the money come from that you put in there in the first place? We want to see that trail. So, yeah. It's just one of those weird things with crypto that it's like, depending on which side of the fence you want to sit on, whether you want to sit on the side that's like, I don't want you having any information at all, or sitting on the side that's like, I'm happy for you to have some information, as long as that's not being used against me for like something minor.
Yeah, so just to summarize, you think the two biggest scams so far is that you click on the wrong link, and the other thing is about how private your information actually is?
Absolutely.
Is there any other scams you think that people should be aware of?
Look, to be honest, other than rug pulls, which again is indeterminate, right?
Yep.
Like you can do all of your fence sitting and then decide to go in on a project because it looks good.
Yeah.
And it still still fails, and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah. Sure.
One of the things I want to point out is that if you're an artist like me, and you have an entire project stolen like I had stolen 3 weeks ago, there is very little recourse on IP infringement because NFTs right now have no repercussion, and that is a problem.
Yeah, well, you were saying it's such an unregulated thing. It's just like there's no way to...
There's just nothing. Unless the platform, and luckily for me, the platform actually literally came back to me this morning and removed the project from their platform.
Oh, great.
Right? Because they went, oh, well, this is clearly IP infringement. You've shown us that you're the artist and that you pulled out of this project, and he still went and minted it and stole your art. We're just going to pull it straight up. Right? In some of those respects, the platform will actually reimburse people out of their own pocket. So you're still not protected, right? There are new companies that are actually popping up that are like semi-insurance NFT-related projects that basically say that if you buy their NFT insurance when you buy your NFT, they'll actually do a full reimbursement to you if it gets rug pulled or if something happens within 3 months.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Right? Which is cool.
Yeah.
And it means they're going to make a lot of money because how many projects are going to rug pull?
Yeah.
Like that's an indeterminate amount, but not as large as the amount of projects that just kind of fail.
Yeah.
And it's not that anyone's rug pulling, it's just that it's like stale, it's not moving.
Yeah.
So they're not going to pay you out on that because it's like, well, they didn't rug pull, they didn't run away. You know, the project is just sitting there and not selling. Like, thanks for your money. So, yeah. Again, going back to the artist thing, IP infringement is going to happen in this space right now because it is the wild, wild west. And I don't mean a Will Smith Wild, Wild West because that movie was terrible. I mean that literally somebody can just run out into the street with their gun and start like shooting off their 6-shooter and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Right? Because, again, decentralized, because anonymous, you know, because it's tied into crypto, there's just no way to action a lawsuit against somebody because how am I going to get somebody to serve you legal papers? Hits his mic. How am I going to get somebody to serve you legal papers if I don't know who you are? I don't know your address. I don't even know your name. I can't track you at all. And this is what I wanted to talk about with my particular project, Crypto Orcs, is because working with this person wasn't doxed to me, right? Because there is, I guess you could say, the unspoken rule when it comes to crypto, which is if somebody wants to work with you, they can or can't dox themselves to you. That's, you know, up to them. Personally, I dox myself to everyone. I will gladly give my name. I will gladly give identifying details so there's a trail of me. In my Twitter profiles, there is links back to my personal profile so people know that I am a real person, that I actually exist, and they can actually track me through all of my content creator stuff. Because I want people to know that I am a real person.
Yeah, sure.
Because it keeps me accountable. Now, if you're an Anon, you are accountable for nothing.
Yeah, and currently it's still not regulated enough to trace anything. So it doesn't matter.
Correct. So if I, let's say, well, not me because I'm doxxed, but if I'm not doxxed, I could just go out and steal somebody's project and put it up and make some money and run away before somebody catches me.
So there's a real, like, that's not even a scam. It's just a massive risk that just you might not know who you're dealing with, but beware if you don't know who you're dealing with.
Correct.
If this person won't reveal their identity, then there's a reason for it. Tread with caution.
Correct. Now, there is a way that when you're buying an NFT, or when you're thinking of buying an NFT, that you can actually have a look at the person's quote-unquote history, sort of. So every NFT is tied to, or generally speaking, almost every NFT platform is tied to what is called a...
there's going to be another glossary term. I know this is going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah, smart contract.
Okay.
The smart contract has your crypto wallet address for the person who created that smart contract or for that project tied into that contract. So you can then use the internet with that wallet address to check on the history of that wallet address.
Yeah, sure.
You can see if it's new. This might be their first project.
Yeah.
So it gives you very little recourse, really. Yeah. But in the grand scheme of things, if this is somebody who's had another project tied to that particular wallet, you'll be able to track it down. You'll be able to see what
cool.
happened. So it's just something to keep in mind.
We've ticked over a little bit over an hour. Al, did you want to give us any final thoughts on NFTs? And I think we should do a buy, hold, sell, and then tie off this bad boy, I think.
If you're going to buy into NFTs, educate yourself. If you are going to buy into any of the card manufacturer NFTs at this point in time, and I'm including Top Shot in that, even though they don't create physical cards, hold the hell off. It is so new. It is so new.
Yeah.
And unless you're buying it just to own that pretty picture, which you don't really need to, honestly, buy a physical card. I will tell you from the bottom of my heart how much I enjoy NFT projects, generally speaking. But I'm not telling you to go and buy one. I actually would say against going to buy one unless you educate yourself on the project itself, educate yourself on their community. What is their community interaction like? And when it comes to, again, Panini or something like that, just don't, because it's completely different.
All right. It's at the risk of extending this to 2 hours, when Fanatics take over, do you think the NFT space is gonna get very interesting?
It's a hard one to know because we don't know what Fanatics are going to do. Right? We don't know what their plan is, even if they have a plan for NFTs.
My curiosity about NFTs, and this, I don't know if Russell shares this view, is once I sort of know what they can do, like owning a digital asset means little if it's just a pretty picture, right? We've talked about the other value surrounding it. The thing that's been ticking over in my mind is what's stopping a franchise, say, well, I don't know, the Indiana Pacers come out and go, you know what, we're going to release a series of NFTs, right, that come with a courtside seat.
You know what? Absolutely, that is exactly what should be happening.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to own this digital asset, this basketball-related product, because the basketball, I can actually go to the basketball.
Because it's tied into something.
Yeah.
Here's what I would do if I was Fanatics. I would do one of two things. I would actually probably do both of these. The first one is NFC chips in cards for NFTs. Right?
Agreed.
So you own the physical and the digital asset, and when you trade that physical asset to somebody else, they can scan that NFC chip, and now they also own the digital asset, right?
Yep.
Which means you still have the pretty card to show off on your shelf. You also have the pretty card online, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense because you have something physical, which is still that nostalgia of actually owning a physical product that is tied to that thing.
Yep.
The other thing I would do, and Fanatics, if you ever hear this, please do this. Could you imagine if there is a certain amount in products, right, that would be eligible for you to go to a special collector's meetup for that year?
Oh, wow. So effectively, like, if you buy into this product, you get exclusive invite to the hobby hangout or the...
Well, if you buy into this product and you manage to hit this particular card set, this subset of, like, inserts, right, which has an NFT tied to it, so that it has ongoing value in the future because it's still tied to that NFT, but it has extra value this year or for a set number of years where you have one-time redemption that you can redeem it to go to a particular show, right?
Okay.
And you can see on that card if somebody has redeemed that particular like instance of that event, because you would need to scan that card when you get to that event, and then it would write it to the blockchain that you've attended that event, right?
Interesting.
Think about it another way, though. Think about it if it was a major prize type thing. Now, we're very used to how scarce one-of-ones can be. Imagine if your one-of-one was not only a digital and a physical asset. Imagine if it actually came with merchandise, right? Because whatever this company is going to be called that Fanatics is doing for trading cards is still going to be tied to Fanatics, who do merchandising. So imagine if you want a merchandise pack for this player, signed by this player, tied directly into this NFT.
Okay.
So you're getting the physical card, you're getting the digital card, you're also getting like a prize pack basically. It's like, hey, congratulations, you hit this like really rare card. Other than just this card, like here's this swag that comes with this card.
I really like the sound of that actually, and then it also opens up to essentially how creative can these people be as to how they put these packages together, because
and that's the thing.
I watched a video with Mark Cuban and Gary Vee, and they were talking about NFTs moving into the future, and one of the things that Mark Cuban was talking about was, I hope I'm getting this right, essentially making their tickets to be NFTs, and then the NFT after would be collectible, because just how people collect ticket stubs now. So I'm not too sure exactly how in the future that will be collectible, but what they were talking about doing was adding value to the ticket. So for example, you would take your NFT to the candy store and you'd go and get like your chips and your drinks and stuff like that. And then you could go to the novelty store, then you pick up like the bobblehead that's exclusive to that game and all that type of stuff. And I haven't been to a lot of NBA games, obviously for like geographical reasons, but I can physically tell you off the top of my head the merchandise that I got when I went to the games that I went to, and I remember the bobbleheads that I got that were exclusive to that game. And I think that's the type of thing that, in terms of creating an experience and giving somebody like a lifelong memory, I think that's super cool.
Because that's creating like a meaningful experience for the consumer.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what Cuban has been pushing this whole time about Fanatics. He's like, I want you to be able to buy a box, and you're not probably going to get, like, if you buy a box for $500, you should be getting at least half that back in cards. Like, you should be getting something back. But imagine if you are getting, like, the extra experience from opening that box. Yeah. If you crack something really cool, and it comes with a completely different user experience. It's not just like, I opened a box of cards. And that's why I'm excited for Fanatics.
I've got redemption ideas out coming out of the wazoo. Like, imagine owning a redemption where the player came out and signed your card.
Yeah, in front of you.
Yeah.
You got to go to a game. Imagine if it was just as simple as like you win a flight within America to a particular game within a particular year, or within that year.
Yeah.
Where you can redeem it to have that player sign that card in front of you. Like have a quick meet and greet, like a 5-minute meet and greet. Some serious
that's a life experience you'll never forget.
Yeah.
And if you got the LeBron one, or you got the...
Could you imagine...
You got a Curry or a Giannis or...
Yeah.
That, like, how much that would mean to, like, bringing it back to #thekids for those people who want to cry that, the product should be for kids. Like, fuck off.
Well, that, and also to think about the flip value of that.
Because, because the flip value is going to be insane, right? But imagine if it was more than that. Imagine if it was... Let's look at sneaker spotlight cards. Yeah. Could you imagine if you won a sneaker spotlight card, the redemption for that card was actually that you went to the game and the player literally gave you a signed sneaker there at the game. And you got to talk to them for 5 minutes or 3 minutes or 2 minutes or even a
30
minute.
seconds while they signed it.
Like, hey, how you doing, man? Thanks for, coming to the game and watching us play. That's really cool. Here, let me sign this shoe for you. This is my absolute, like, particular shoe that I've worn in a game. Like, it smells funky.
Yeah, there's no doubt over whether or not it's game worn because you're at the game.
Yeah, like,
and it stinks.
It's literally game worn. Like, you're literally getting it at the game.
You're like,
and you're just,
man, that shoe stinks. You're like, yeah, that's LeBron's stink.
No one would care. There's so many people who would be sniffing that thing. They'd be just be like,
oh no,
oh yeah, it smells like LeBron.
All right, that's the sound clip for this week.
The smell of LeBron.
I will wear it proudly. It is the smell of LeBron. But like that user experience, creating an actual experience rather than like Panini's like experience of redeeming something and then waiting like 2 years to get it back.
Look, look. Gary Vee is pumped up NFTs, and I think this is one of the things that I've sort of paid attention to, is that there's so much you can do with the concept, and that they haven't explored yet. I think that's the big thing. And the other one that still not 100% over this one, but I heard it on I think it was one of his TikToks, but it was like. But royal perpetuity, like you own this. It's a perpetual asset. You can write that you retain the ownership of it, or you take a percentage for life of the asset.
Yes.
You can write contracts into the contracts.
The people have done it. There are NFTs out there at the moment that are trade for life.
Yeah.
Like
you make a percentage every time this changes hands.
Yep. Absolutely. Which
like
feels
that's where I see the pyramid Ponzi stuff.
Feels even more like a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if it's a Bored Ape Yacht Club and you're selling that for $5 million and you
make your 1%.
Yeah.
You make your 0.01 of a percent.
Whatever it might be.
Yeah, if it's 5 million.
I mean, most creators put theirs at between 5 and 10% kickback, right?
Mm-hmm.
And usually about 3% or 2% of that goes back to the platform itself.
Yeah.
Right. So everyone's getting a kickback from extra sales of that NFT, and that's actually, thanks for bringing that up. That's something we didn't cover, which is, a lot of NFTs have this built in that me as the creator gets a kickback every time you sell that on. So if it keeps increasing in price over and over and over, and then it's a $10 million NFT that gets sold, thank you very much for my free $1 million that I didn't even have to work for.
And that keeps the servers going and all that type of stuff too. Like that,
exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because the server gets a cut and then you get your cut. And that's why projects that are successful are going to try and compound on that and make new projects to keep new people involved or
reinvest money back into the project.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Right.
And that is really what NFTs are supposed to be for.
Yeah.
But again, being used for incorrect purposes, in my honest opinion at this point, because we haven't even touched what NFTs could be used for, and instead it's a bunch of greedy people, looking at things like Top Shot because it does nothing. Like, you're buying that asset for what reason? To stare at it. Like, you're not getting anything from that asset. And that's what makes me really mad about NFTs at the moment. Again, looking at video games, where video games have tried and failed because they didn't realize that, their community is different to an NFT community. When they've tried to introduce an NFT into a game and said, here's this exclusive in-game item, most of their fans, their current community, has gone, why are you doing this? This adds nothing to the game. And NFT enthusiasts won't touch it because they're like, but I don't play your shitty game. I'm not part of your community. So, yeah, that's another thing as well. At this point in time, NFTs aren't enriching things. It's a bunch of greedy people, for the most part.
I'm
not saying all,
yeah,
but it's a bunch of greedy people trying to cash in. That's why, EA pulled it from doing theirs, which is surprising because we all know that Electronic Arts is all about being greedy and ripping money off everyone, right? Ubisoft was the surprise when Ubisoft decided that they were going to do it, which they failed miserably at, because Ubisoft are usually not the first ones in line to try and make as much money out of a product as possible. That's usually EA. So EA, seeing that Ubi had failed, went, crap, we can't do this. Oh no, pull that back. A big one that I want you both to have a look into this week
sure, man. Hit us.
is Star Trek Continuum. I want you to both just, take a little bit of a look at that for homework and let me know what you think. Because this is
That's going to be difficult for me because that's a Star Trek thing. I'm a huge Star Wars. It's okay.
I like both. I'm a science fiction nerd. So I guess I'll explain it quickly for you both and for the people out there, which is a company has licensed Star Trek NFTs, right? Sounds like it could be a cool idea. There's only one problem. What is Star Trek about fundamentally? It's certainly not about being a Ferengi. It's certainly not about making cash in a cashless society.
Space exploration, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And instead, they've done this tone-deaf thing of bringing out this NFT. To make it worse, the NFT is starting out as randomly generated ship parts tied together to make a ship. Right? Ships that just don't exist in the Star Trek universe. We're talking different nacelles with different plate cabins, different crew sections, etc., all tied in to make a randomly generated NFT.
So do you have to keep buying the NFTs until you've got enough for a ship? Is that what
No,
you're saying?
you get the ship. The ship is randomly generated.
But the ship
then the second part is your crew, which will also be shock horror randomly generated.
Yeah, right.
So
we don't need to do research, and this is trash.
This is completely against what Star Trek actually stands for.
Correct.
Right?
But then do you take that ship and crew and travel around the universe and do these adventures? Is that what happens?
That would be a great idea, but from what we know of like what they've been talking about, it's pretty much a static adventure type thing.
Oh boy.
Not an actual MMO or anything like that.
Oh boy. That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
That is pretty bad.
And even if it was like something like an MMO, doing that in the Star Trek universe, when you already have like all of these pre-established ships, you have pre-established society, you have the Federation being built specifically on like cashless stuff where it's, very much like you work for the greater good of all humankind, that you're not out for profit because you are working with the Federation, and pretty much everyone on Earth, their status is determined by like how much work they actually put back into society, right? And instead you've got this like greedy grab of NFTs. And this just brings it full on back to
generic products and shit.
Generic products and money grabs.
Cool.
All right, I'll have to check that out. I think we might have to skip our buy, hold, sell and just tie this bad boy off, Al.
I've wasted all this time on NFTs.
This is not a waste of time.
I feel slightly more educated on NFTs. I still don't know that. Problem is, if I want an NFT, we're gonna have to come back for the other episode on how the hell I deal with cryptocurrency in order to decipher all that in order to buy one.
The easiest way to do it is don't
get someone else to do it.
Get somebody else to do it. Find one of your friends who's actually into NFTs, who has a track record of like doing well in NFTs, and talk to them about like what should I be doing and how should I be doing it. Like, I've said this probably about 1 million times to people, is like, it's hard enough to educate yourself, which you should be doing anyway. But then trying to understand like all the nuances of like all the different things you should be looking at. Like, you should understand fundamentally what an NFT is, but it doesn't mean that means that you should be going and investing in this thing. It's the same thing with like buying a house, right? If you go and buy a house, you should understand A, how that house works, B, what are the pitfalls that I'm looking for in that house, and C, if I'm going to need to repair something in this house that I've found, how am I going to repair it? Yeah. You're not just going to go and buy a house, because that house is going to be like a wreck.
So buyer beware. Russell is going to put a glossary, which is about 3 encyclopedias long, on terms to look for in the NFT world. It's
I said we need a glossary. I didn't say I would be creating this glossary, just to like clarify this.
I'll help with the image for the cover.
Which
will be an NFT, by the way.
One of the things I should add before we sign off is that I am currently working on a project with a bunch of people from overseas. That is, well, at this point in time, I'm doing the art for Tasmanian Tasmanian devils, because they are an endangered species. There's NFTs like what I'm going to be working on, which is about conservation. Yeah. NFTs are going to be about educating people on like what we need to do as a society to save these creatures. And a percentage, I think it's like 10 or 20%, is actually going to be going to a particular wildlife fund that is about saving the Tasmanian devil.
That's crazy.
Because that's a huge thing. And if anyone doesn't know what's happening with Tasmanian devils, all you need to look up is face tumor Tasmanian devil, and it's horrifying. It's almost as horrifying as koalas and chlamydia. Like, it's terrible, and we're not doing enough for it. So just putting that one out there. Just keep your eyes out for that.
Thanks, Al.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, but before we tie it off, give us. Is there any socials, any links here, any? Well, you've talked about this project, but where else can we find you?
So if you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me under @Voigtstar. He is the best part, because that is my actual artist, my NFT artist profile. Other than that, if you want to find me for gaming related reasons, for MTG or Hearthstone with Adam or anything like that, you can find me under Chesh Plays Games. Chesh Plays.
So Cheshire Plays. Yeah, we have a couple of games of Hearthstone every Wednesday night now, so it's good. I look forward to that.
I'm going to keep saying Hearthstone. You're welcome.
Hearthstone.
Hearthstone.
So, tomato and tomato. Here we go. Russell's just going to laugh. Here we
Yeah, good stuff, lads. Thank you so much for coming, Al. We're very grateful for your time. And
hey,
Adam,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, hope you get well soon, mate.
Oh, mate, I'm hoping the nose sort of clears up and that it's.
We'll see what happens. We might skip Wednesday.
Yeah, well, it depends. If I'm. Oh no, look, I'll be.
Yeah.
I'll be on. With.
And
I can play
if any listeners out here have made it through an hour and 39 minutes of this, thank you so much for listening and take care of yourselves.
And remember, don't buy NFTs.
Thanks, boys.